hope you enjoyed the last edition of the band Zoom. Here's another one. Big thanks again to Max for providing the video that we've just seen, and also to Nathan for his beautiful rendition of Len Valentine's powerful song, Don't Doubt Him Now. So here's the next edition with some various things thrown in. We hope you enjoy it.
So I was with my cousin, who was also in Chalk Farm, and we went off to Lavalin for the weekend. And it was a Saturday evening festival, like normal, full band. And then for the Sunday, it was just a select few bandsmen. Because for the Saturday night, yeah, they were the lucky ones that went home, and we had to stay. Because my cousin and I, we went off to the Billets. And yeah, that's quite a nice house, it was. And as for with the person we were staying with, well, they kind of told us on the Saturday night that they were leaving early, and if we could help their father get changed. I thought this was a joke. This was no joke. Because we had to, well, my cousin somehow got out of it, so it was me. I had to dress the old man there, and so I had to help him along with his shirt and with his trousers and with his braces, but his braces went down into his trousers, so had to go down into his trousers to get them out. Yeah, it was not a nice time. It wasn't. Yes. So
If you could all please rise for the performance of our national anthem.
Greetings to Peterborough Citadel Band from Croydon Citadel. My name is Carl Nielsen, and Andrew kindly invited me to contribute to the band's online magazine by saying hello and briefly sharing a few memories. I have to say that I have vivid memories of my time at the Corps, which was worryingly about 50 years ago. I suppose Robert Harvey must have been about 25 years old then. But as a young, impressionable YP band member, and the Corps had a really good YP band in those days, I recall, my overarching memory is of wanting to play in the senior band. I definitely became a bando right there and then, and who knows, but for the influence of bandmasters such as Bram Scott, Eric Leonard, Derek Lane, and many encouraging bandsmen. These were the days before, of course, ladies were permitted to be in the band. I might not be where I am in my journey right now. I believe that 4 of the band from those days are still in the band today. Former principal cornet David Ward, whose effortless playing of Lover of the Lord is an item that I can still remember. Uncle Robert Harvey, Peter Walker and Alan Stewart. And forgive me if I've missed anyone out. Thinking back, Sundays in those days must have been so busy. For me as a YP band member, Sunday school, and of course open air for the senior band, followed by the holiness meeting. Afternoon open air or Sunday school, followed by a praise meeting. Then an evening open air with a separate open air for the YP band opposite, I think, the Odeon Cinema on Long Causeway, followed by a salvation meeting. Then in the summer months, a late night open air at Cathedral Square. I loved the old King Street building. It had so much character. Every Sunday evening in the salvation meeting, I and other YP corps members would sit on the left-hand side of the gallery looking at the platform. I remember all too well getting a warning cough, something like from my dad in the band if we were misbehaving, which was, as I recall, pretty often. I can also remember hearing the band marching back to the hall after a late night open air along the main road. It always sounded so impressive to a young wannabe. I remember also the visit to the corps of the International Staff Band in what must have been 1971, in particular the guest visitor Ernie Wise. I watched my dad welcome him outside the hall and ask him to put his cigar out before he ventured into the hall. He, Ernie Wise, not my dad, was fairly controversial in some of his comments, which I remember he had to leave the event early to go and record the famous Morecambe and Wise Christmas show with Andre Previn. And as a current member of the ISB and knowing how it operates, I wonder what went through the mind of Lieutenant Colonel Bernard Adams and the rest of the band that evening. But most importantly, I'm really indebted to Peterborough Citadel Band for the impact it had on me in my formative years. I last heard the band at the Symphony Hall in Birmingham a few years ago when it was a guest at Symphony Sounds. It was good to hear the band playing to such a high standard. You have a great leader in Andrew, and I pray that you all continue the fine witness that has been a hallmark of the band for many years. Blessings to you all.
So, it's try and beat the Bandmaster against trying to beat me in goal for our Monday night sessions. Do you think they will? Let's have a look.
Chris Hunt, solo cornet.
If you score, that's a big thing, isn't it? Nice save,
There you go. That's a save. Whoa, he tipped it onto the bar.
Next one.
Okay. Stuart Dockrell, second trombone. You ready? Phil Fisher, solo horn. Nathan Bright, solo cornet.
Two friends talking together. One says to the other, "I've got a fantastic business idea." He goes, "What's that?" He goes, "I'm going to make an invisible aircraft." The bloke says, "Can't see it taking off."
1971. Driving up the A1. My very first job was in an accountant's office as just a clerk. Didn't figure out, so I left it. Cats. Everything. Australia, because it's where I had relatives, where I could envisage living, and just a great lifestyle. Japan, I think, although my wife wouldn't agree with that, but Japan. Shine Down, Anthem from Chess, In God's Presence, Meditation on Still. Now, which one would I pick of those? Could be unconscious bias there. I better tell you, in truth, The Call of the Righteous. Well, I had to write it down because it's from the NIV, and it's a strange verse to take because it's actually a benediction, but it's taken from Numbers chapter 6, 24 to 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. So that although this is a priest's blessing, it's something you can seek for yourself as well as bestow to other people.
Hi all. I'm almost reluctant to talk about the pandemic as it seems to be occupying most of the conversation and news these days. It's affecting us all whether we like it or not, and the term lockdown is now common parlance, and many of us are feeling hemmed in and restricted in what we can do. I've been amazed at some of the language being used, like our human rights are being abused. A bit over dramatic, I feel. However, I certainly feel somewhat tired and with the situation, and as we move into the second 6 months of restrictions with little prospect of things getting much better, indeed potentially not improving at all, the feeling is of, my feeling anyway, is of being tired and bound by circumstances, or to use a very old word, fettered. It's this word fettered which led me to think of a piece of music by one of my favourites, Ken Downey. The chorus arrangement, he can break every fetter. I remember first hearing this piece on a cassette I acquired called Sounds of Joy, and it's played by the Canadian Staff Band, and it was on sale during their second visit to Peterborough in June 1990. Here's the cassette. To this day, I can remember and recall the impact it had on me at the time. I was moved, I was uplifted, and I was challenged by the music, and determined that as a band we should at some point, when it's published, we will play it down, and we did. It was really interesting to hear Ken at our recent Zoom session refer to it as his favourite or most satisfying work, and I get that. For me, it's a 2-minute testimony from a great deep-thinking Christian gentleman and talented arranger, composer and musician. I can think back to my childhood and of those long Sunday evening salvation meetings, singing chorus after chorus with seekers at the mercy seat. This chorus, "He can break every fetter, he can set you free," was one such chorus that I learnt just as a young boy, and I guess by repeating and repeating. Ken in his music presents 3 versions of the chorus, from a delightful harmony of 4 trombones at the beginning, through a development through the full band, intensifying to an explosion of sound and confidence in the words, "He can set you free." I'd never heard that chorus ever sung in that way before, and that's what the impact was on me. There's an incident in scripture I recall in Acts chapter 16, which was of Paul's secondary missionary journey when he was with Paul, and Paul was with Silas, should I say, and they cast out a demon from a woman, and the locals didn't take kindly to it. They beat them up and put them into prison and chained them up. Now, far from wallowing in their plight, perhaps as we might be doing during this pandemic, they were so spirit-filled they could only sing praises, to such effect that the chains which bound them and other prisoners were broken, the ground shook, and they were freed. Ken's music, for me, is an unequivocal statement that we can experience that same freedom and sing with confidence and gusto that not only can he set us free, but he will set us free. That's if only we trust him. Let's experience that feeling as we listen and remind ourselves of those truths which we read about in Acts chapter 16, particularly verses 23 to 26, and I perhaps suggest you check that out for yourselves later. Let's say thank you to the Canadian Staff Band and the original recording of 30 years ago, which feels like it was made just yesterday. Let's cue the music.